Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast. And today, you can see the old there it is, logo up there from the hitting zone. I got my buddy Mitch coming in from the house today. And Mitch, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, my friend. Thank you.
Good. And special guest on the show. Longtime friend of the show, been around a long time. Mike Morgan from the Missouri Sticks. Mike, good to see you, bud.
Good to see you too, man.
We haven't talked in a bit.
Yeah, that's right. I was telling you when I walked in. You know, baseball season goes away and you forget about me.
Oh, that one. Oh,
you gotta get all these more important people on, like Mitch and Matt Shadow and Jeff Sauer. All those guys get.
He's crushing me now. That's all right.
That's hilarious.
Broad shoulders.
That's right.
Hey, man, YBMcast is powered by Game 7 Baseball. Game7baseball.com. Go there, get your team registered. Great tournaments, not only in Missouri, Branson, of course, St. Louis area, but we also up in Illinois and Quincy. Got Kentucky coming on this year, down in Tennessee. Great stuff all throughout the Midwest here. Get your team registered. And this year, 13U Elite Championship, sponsored by YBM. We're going to pull we got some great stuff coming up. Mitch, you got to get your 13U team in there, bro.
Yeah, we're actually working on scheduling right now with our teams. Our 14U teams are pretty much booked, and Coach Jamal is working on his 13U team.
Very good. So, man, you gotta get your 14U team in our 14U Elite Championship too.
I didn't see that on there. I was just on Game 7 yesterday. I didn't see that unless I missed it. We are doing the Midland tournament.
Midland Invitational.
We're actually going to try to play up at AAA level. I'm not sure if that's good for us or not, but we got some dudes that can throw. But like I said, we're a nice AA team, so I feel like some point you got to challenge your team. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. You see, I always respect those teams that come up that try to play a couple weekends and they play that AAA major level. And sometimes they get a little overwhelmed, but I think it's great for the boys to play that different level for sure.
This is where we're at within baseball. There's all kinds. There's more AA teams than there are probably any other. Correct?
For sure.
And not to leave, and like I said, we're not trying to leave AA teams out. There's some really good AA teams out there. And as you said, Mitch, you think you have a really good AA squad. And that means you probably got some really good kids on there.
We do, for sure.
And so what do you guys think makes that next step to get to that AAA major league?
I mean, I will say we've lost to some AA teams on Saturday. I mean, I would say, we consider ourselves a AAA major team. We've lost to some AA teams on Saturdays. I think really, to me, and Mitch is probably more of a expert in this than I am, but I think the difference between AAA and AA baseball is the depth. I think your depth is where it really gets you. We can throw some of we on our team. We actually have, it's a good problem to have. We have almost all 12 of our guys can throw, and probably 6 of them could be Sunday pitchers. So we're throwing some Sunday guys potentially for other teams on Saturdays. I think AA teams, their pitching depth probably isn't as deep. Mm-hmm. I think that, to me, that is the biggest difference between AA and AAA is the depth.
Mitch, that's pretty much the consensus, isn't it?
It is. We talk about depth quite often on this show with that even major to AAA, being that deep, separating the top. We feel the same. Like, when I talk about why I feel like we're a AA team, I have 3 pitchers that I feel are really your Sunday pitcher that can probably, compete against anybody. And I also, it's IQ for me too. It's depth and IQ, the game IQ. You see some of these top level kids, and it's just different. And even a strong AA athlete, if he has a high IQ, he can play. with just about anybody,
sure.
because, the one cool thing about baseball is I've never noticed that size doesn't, size is not a factor. You have your athletes, of course, that play up the middle, but you can have a chunky kid, you can have a short kid, you can have a tall kid, you can have an overweight kid, and they all can compete. And so it comes down to that IQ. And just like Mike said, depth is huge. That's why I like having 14 guys.
You guys have run into that, haven't you?
Yeah.
With injuries. I think it kind of bit you a little last year.
So last year we decided to take the chance and go with 10 guys, which that was looking back on it, probably not the best decision, but we had, we had on our first tournament weekend, we had one of our Sunday guys have an elbow issue. He had little league elbow, so he couldn't throw. We had one of our, middle infielders have back issues who probably played, 15 out of our 60 games. We had one of our catchers and pitchers and all-around guy break his foot. So, we ran into a lot of depth issues, and this year we are going with 12. We will not make that mistake again. But, it was a struggle for us all year. I think when we talked about that, we played with our roster that we started the year with for maybe 1 or 2 games out of 60. So, these boys are getting to that age too, where, their bodies are changing, injuries are going to happen. So we have definitely made the decision to go with 12 this year.
And, I think that's a great point. You get into that 12, 13, 14, all of a sudden your body's getting stronger.
Yeah.
You can push a little harder. You can go a little faster. You can, just that. And I think it creates opportunities for injury.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I think that's the main thing too. And, we have run into a thing with our team. We have 12 boys, and I think 12 of them are still boys.
Yeah.
So we run into some teams who have 5 or 6 men already, right? So I think we're at that age too, where we're kind of dealing with that 13, 14-year-old time where kids are developing. Sometimes we'll walk into a game and we're playing, playing one of these AA teams, and we look over their side, and I'm like, holy crap, there's 7 dudes that are big as our coach. Right. And I know Coach Mark's not the tallest guy ever, but
but
some
he's
of those,
a good sized dude.
some of these guys are just a small shot at Coach Mark, but some of these dudes are as tall as him, and we're just like, what the heck? When are our boys going to start going? So I think that's a big part of this age level too, is, how many of these boys are hitting puberty, and there's some of these kids that hit puberty pretty early. They're peaking at 12, 13 years old, and now we get to 13 and people are starting to catch up with them again. I think that's why I think the talent kind of comes back and starts leveling out a little bit too. We ran into a lot last year in the fall. We faced a team from Southern Indiana. Had a kid. He was throwing 73, 74, and was bringing it. And his thighs were huge, and this kid was a monster. And we did a good job with him, but hopefully that stuff starts leveling out, 13, 14.
We'll see, right?
Right, we'll see.
We were talking about that here recently too, Mitch, because that was on one of our last shows. We were talking about, you would like to have a little more size with your 14U squad, correct?
Yeah, it's the same, and it's always about that maturity in these kids. I actually we have a couple of 13-year-old kids that are playing up, and we have actually one kid that just meets the cutoff to play 14U that's actually in high school. And the difference between their thickness and just size in general. And I'm young. I graduated at 17 years old, and my maturity just from 17 to 18 was way different. So I wasn't prepared to be a freshman in college. I was still just trying to be an 18-year-old. And that same thing happens between that 13 and 14-year-old age group. One of my 13-year-olds is probably my biggest kid on the team. And, I have 14-year-olds that still haven't hit the, armpit hair yet. So it's definitely interesting to watch the change and the growth, kind of in front of us. And you're right. When Brian was talking about, the kids are getting a little bit more stronger. They're hitting the weight room, or they're just starting to experience these things. And so what's the next step? You know, you're starting to give a little bit more. You're starting to give a little bit more. You want to run through the brick wall, and you're going to have those body injuries.
Yeah.
You know, just the pains of growth.
Yeah. Just that extra effort because the competitiveness comes through.
Yeah.
You know, I can get to that ball, you know, and a little misstep and your knee tweaks.
Yep.
And, you know, those are the things that you see start to happen at that, in my opinion. So,
No, for sure. I know I had it with my own son, you know, Kevin. He's a pretty good athlete, and, you know, he works hard off the field, but he had a couple of times this year where had a back tweak at the start of the year, and then hurt his knee, you know, sliding into second. Somebody collided. You know, when they were 7 or 8, they just pop back up and let's go, right? And now these kids aren't 25, 30 years old, 40 years old and get hurt all the time. But you could definitely tell that those injuries are starting to, you know, they start to mount up, and they got to take, you know, we tell our boys, they got to take care of yourselves. You know, you're getting older, your bodies are changing. You know, we expect them to work a little bit off season. They got to take care of themselves a little. We got to stretch. You know, we before when they were 7 or 8 years old, stretching was consisting of, you know, just barely moving. Now you know, we can make sure that our boys stretch out as much as they can, and you know, we just got to take care of their bodies.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, let's get into this. We got you here, Mike, and you've been in this. You guys have been in this age group now since your son.
Yeah, a while.
You know the age group. You've been around the state from Kansas City to Southwest to Springfield, Joplin, Cape, all that. Let's start at the western part, because that's the one that Mitch and I have been talking. We don't know that much about.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're trying to get a feel for a little bit more, is that western side of the state. I know a little bit more about Springfield Mavericks. They're gonna beat you up pretty good.
Yeah, they're good.
Or Midwest Mavs. I'm sorry, Midwest Mavs.
Yeah.
They're gonna beat you up pretty good. But Kansas City, we've been hearing, you know, mostly about what building champions, right, Mitch?
Champions.
Yeah, building champions.
Hammers.
Yeah. You know, I watched last week's episode and Jeff Sauer was on it. You know, he knows a lot more about the west side of the state. You know, they go there for a couple of times during the year. You know, we haven't run into a ton of Kansas City teams, but just through the years, you know, the Hammers are always good. Building champions. They have a huge club. They got a few different teams. You know, so that side of the state I think is really good. I would tend to say our side of the state's a little more advanced when it comes to the number of teams they have that you can expect to on a given day to be in the finals. But you know, that side of the state is really good. The facilities there, I mean, they're all so many turf fields in Kansas City now. So I think a lot more teams are going to start going to Kansas City, and we're going to start seeing a real battle between St. Louis teams and Kansas City teams in Kansas City, because there's so much turf. You know, when you're traveling as a coach, you don't want to travel somewhere and get rained out. So a lot of people are looking for turf. And I know a lot of the facilities in Kansas City are turf, so a lot of people will be traveling there.
You know, that just gave me a great idea.
You gonna build some turf fields here?
No. I mean, I would like to. If anybody has like $10 million laying around,
I thought maybe
give me a call. I'd be happy to do that. I'll make sure we get it all done. That's just, you know, we'll put YBM on it and we're good.
There you go.
But no, you know, right there in the middle in Columbia there, you do an East-West tournament showdown.
Be awesome.
Bring like 8 of the top teams, and they square off, you know, and you kind of just go, you know, East versus West.
There you go.
That's kind of a killer thought, man.
Get Dave's on the phone.
That's right. Come on, Dave.
What are you doing with the guys in the middle, though?
What?
What are you going to do about the Jeff City teams in Columbia?
Man, don't hurt me.
Now we get to 12.
It was still a good idea, bro.
It is. No, it is. We can make it happen. Just need 12 teams.
There you go.
The 4 from St. Louis, 4 from Kansas City, and 4 from Central.
Then the folks in Springfield and Southern Missouri will be like, oh, man, what are you doing? So we go East, West, North, South.
There you go.
Right? And we'll just square it off, put in 16 teams,
there you go.
And just go to town. That'd be fun, actually.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Know what?
Yeah.
That'd be a really good tournament.
Yeah.
I like that thought process. Okay, well, put it in the bank. Now,
that's right. There you go.
We know the Midwest Maps. What about the southern part of the state? What do you know about that? You've been down at Cape and played down there, haven't you?
Yeah, we've been down there a couple of times. I think, I don't know if I consider the St. John South, I guess if we consider them South. The St. John River Dogs have a couple good teams. The Jackson Tribe have a good squad. They have a good AAA team, major team. We played in the same tournament as them in Branson last year. They, I think, made it to the finals there and lost to a local team here from St. Louis. But they're a good team. They are big. They have some big boys on that team. And I think they pull from a couple different cities down there and surrounding areas. The Jackson Tribe, really good. The Mavericks they were talking about, that team is stacked, legit. So, I think when you talk about those areas too, the number of teams diminish a little bit. There's one, maybe two from a town, because they kind of put them together.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of put the town together. I think that's a little bit of what, not the problem in this area is, but it's a good problem. The talent is, the teams are kind of watered down. Everybody's fighting for those best players.
Well, and to that point, I'm kind of waiting to see what we see from Marucci Midwest.
Yeah.
That was 417. That was the Nationals. And I know there was a lot of the high school. So I think they're having to kind of start from scratch with their youth teams, their 9 to 14. Right. So over the next little bit, I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Sure.
I don't think they're at that caliber yet. Right.
Right, for sure.
Have you seen any of those teams around?
I don't think
Marucci Midwest.
I've heard of them. I don't think we've ran into any Marucci Midwest teams as of yet. I don't think so.
Okay.
We've heard of them though.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So then we got St. Louis up in this area. We're going to put you a little bit on the spot here.
Okay.
So as you're looking just in the state of Missouri, and again, this isn't about no particular order.
Okay.
We're not trying to rank teams. We're looking to see, you got AAA major. A lot of the AA teams around here. Yeah. What would be your top AA teams?
Who? So I think that's a tough question, because I think probably most of the top AA teams that I think of are a lot of them are making that jump to AAA next year.
Okay.
I know the Gators, coached by Randy Manor, they've been playing a lot of AA last year, and I think they're making the jump to play more AAA this year. They're really good. They got some good arms on that team, really deep, some big kids on that team. They're making the jump, and I know, let's see, I think the Midwest Futures played a little bit of mixture of both last year, and I think they're probably going to play a little bit more.
They're solid team.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
I agree.
Gators Route, they kind of played a little bit of both last year as well. They were a pretty good AA team. I think they're going to play a lot more AAA. They're a really good team. So, I think a lot of those teams are starting to make that jump to try to, get into that AAA division, which we need, because it's nice to play some different teams every weekend. So
that becomes something that, do you think that gets stale?
Yes.
Do you really?
Playing the same teams every weekend?
Because it's interesting to me that becomes what you do as you get into high school, college, and pro.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not, and you're not the only one that has said that to me. Yeah. So I think it's an interesting gamesmanship to where, can you teach the kids, and Mitch, you can jump in on this. Tell me what you think, because you're in high school baseball. But are we teaching the kids how to play the game? And a pitcher who's seeing a team multiple times, you maybe had a bad outing, but how are you going to work this team now? How are we taking that information and applying it to the next time we see them? Yes?
I agree. From the high school side of things, it's awesome to have the rivalry, right? And I think when you compete against a team week in and week out, you develop that, and it becomes fun. It becomes edgy. You start fighting for something a little bit different when you're playing at that. But the one thing that, what is this show about today is trying to see where everybody lies. And so if you're playing the same teams every weekend, how do you really stack up against the rest of St. Louis? So there's kind of that double edge there. I'm a fan of competing. And so I would love to face the best team over and over. And, how do I fare out of that, 8 times I play them? How good is my team? If that team is better than mine, how can my team grow from playing them? So I think the rivalry is fun, especially being in the GACs, getting to play Hal. Timberland is coming back. I coach at Timberland. So Timberland's, back on the map in the GACs. And, going out against Hal is it's different. Going against Holt, it's your crosstown rival. I love that. I love the energy. I love the stands. And I know that youth baseball doesn't get like this, but at some point, if you have a dude,
I'll tell you, the ladies, we got some upcoming episodes with some baseball moms.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what, you go out there with them, I guarantee it's going to get raucous.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah, I agree with Mitch.
Oh, no.
I agree with Mitch too when it comes to that. It's a double-edged sword. You like to play different competition, but it is fun when you create these little rivalries and you're thinking, okay, well, we got to put our best foot forward here. This is the 4th time we play this team in 4 weeks. We know them. We know where we're going to play our defense. We know what we're going to get. We know we're going to face one of their top pitchers, and I think we as a team, we see a lot of number ones. We see a lot of Sunday guys on Saturdays, and we tell our boys, we try to put it into our boys' mind that they're doing that because they respect us. Right. They know they can't throw number 7 or 8 against us because they know it's going to happen. So that builds the rivalries, and we have a couple rivalries internally. I don't know if they consider us rivals to them. I'm not going to spill the beans on who we consider our rivals right now, but we have.
Oh, come on, man, that's juicy, Mitch. Come on, let's get what
we have some teams. We have some teams that we know we want to beat, and we see them on the schedule, and that on Tuesday when the schedules come out, our boys are fired up to play against certain teams. So that part of it is fun, but it is also fun to play some different teams and play some different style of baseballs, really.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Here, Brian. Just give me a head nod if it's Rollo's Tigers.
Unfortunately, I don't know if I can call them a rival because they've handed it to us a couple times. We got them once in the fall.
I work with one of the kids on Rollo's Tigers team, and we talked about the size. He's only 12, turning 13. It's a Chambers kid that plays for Rollo.
Cole is.
Cole
Chambers massive. He's probably, in my opinion, probably the best 13-year-old player that we'll see all year. He is incredible. The kid is athletic. He can swing it. He can throw it. He can field it. Just an incredible athlete.
Really?
Oh yeah, he's really good. Yeah, he's really good.
I feel like he's a big kid.
Yeah, he's a bigger kid. He's one that team is that Rollo team is really good. They're very fundamental. All their kids can field it. They can all hit. They can all throw. They're
not a lot of holes.
No, there's not a lot of holes there. You have to play pretty much a perfect game to get by them. We faced them. A good example. We faced them in Edwardsville last year. Unfortunately, they lost in pool play, and so they dropped down. We were like the 2 seed, and them having to play them in the first round. You're just like, you kidding me? We ended up throwing Kevin, who's my son Kevin, who's probably I would say 1A on our team. We had to end up throwing him in the first round of bracket play, and they got us. I mean, they had a couple home runs, and so yeah, that team is really good.
So that's going to be somewhere in your top there.
Oh yeah, for sure. If we're ranking, and it's so you talked about it, ranking teams is so hard.
Yeah,
and it's difficult because really sometimes you play teams you don't know if you're playing their roster or if you're playing kids that they've been brought in. So it's really hard. You get some of these tournaments. Some of these teams will bring in extra players. They'll bring in some kids from other teams and. When you lay everybody's roster down at the beginning of the year and you play those rosters, that's where I think you can get these rankings going. So if you put a gun in my head and told me I had to rank the area teams, if everybody's number 1, everybody's 1 through 5 here, and 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. I think you have Gator Sour is probably the class of the area. Good squad. They can play defense. They can pitch it. Rallo, I would say, is right there with them.
Yeah.
I think they're solid. Coach Rallo does a great job with those boys, and Cole Chambers on that team, I think is the best player in the area. And then I think you have a few teams that are really close to those guys. The Recruits Legacy with Coach Wheeler, he does a great job with that squad, and they've gained a couple of kids, and they were really good in the fall. They have a kid that plays just about everywhere for them. Brody Kuby is a kid that I just love. He is, swings it from both sides of the plate. He can catch. He plays middle infield. He pitches. He's fast. Coach Wheeler's boy Nick is super fast. Every time he comes up, we move our infielders in because you got to be quick.
Yeah.
If he gets on first, it's a double. He's getting a second base no matter what. And then I would consider us the sticks right there with everybody. We gained a couple of kids this year, a couple of big kids. We gained a tall lefty, Derek Chubb, who can bring it. Throws lower 70s. Play some first base, play the outfield. Brought in another kid. His name's Landon Lambert. Can really mash. Play some corners, and to add it to the squad that we have. I'm looking forward to what we got going on next year. I think we're gonna surprise some people and gained a little bit of size, which is good. The Apache, which I think now they might be the STL Prime, something like that.
Yeah,
so,
I've heard.
Which Coach Holman, they're a good team. That's a team that we play them a lot. We played them, I bet 5 or 6 times just last year. They got a couple really good players. They got a lefty, Austin Ryan, who played for us when we were younger. Big kid, can really swing it. He's really good on that team. And then there's the Naturals, Schwartz. They're a very good team. They have a kid that's their catcher. This kid mashes. We were at Grand Slam, and I think he hit 6 home runs just on the weekend. I think it's one of the coach's sons. He's really good. He can throw it really well too. Throws pretty hard. Then there's just a bunch of teams and a bunch of players. Southern Illinois Blue Jays with Coach Brayman on the other side of the river. They have a really good team. They have a couple of kids that big, good defensively, could swing it. We lost to them in the silver bracket of the big tournament last year in Edwardsville, and a walk-off home run against them. But, they're really good. Who else we got? Then there's a new recruits team with Coach Hummel. Got a couple of good kids on that team. His son Grant plays shortstop, good player. There's a lot of good 13-year-old teams, and it's a fun group to play each week because it seems like different teams win every weekend. It's not one team just winning every single weekend.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Especially at your age, it was kind of always like that. I agree.
We got lucky, won a few tournaments this year and played a couple of really good teams. And, we had some really good Sundays and we're fortunate enough to get to a couple finals and win some. So it's a fun age group to be involved in. And we've been playing with these teams since we were 7, 8 years old.
Mitch, and I'll let you jump in here. I think there's a lot of kids at this age level that you're going to see
for sure
at the top of the state with a lot of, I think, Division I talent. Agreed?
I'm starting to pay attention. It's interesting. He brought up, I didn't realize Mike Brayman's team was 13U and that Jays team over there. I played against Mike for a long time in men's baseball Montclair League. And Mike is a phenomenal baseball mind and coach.
Mike could rake. When I out of college, I did the play-by-play radio for the River State Rascals, and Mike played for the Gateway Grizzlies. Man, he could absolutely rake when he was younger.
Yeah, and so when I sit and watch him, and I talk baseball with him all the time, he talks about his son's age group, and he's like, there's some dudes out there. I believe there's a growth in the talent in our area. Maybe there's some lack of it at the, a high school age group at like the 15, 16s. I don't know that there's that much talent that I've seen in 13s and 14s. These young kids can play. Now, granted, they still have to mature. They still have to go through the process. And everybody's is a different kernel in a bag of popcorn. So, for me, what I'm seeing come through the facility and training every day, I see a lot of kids that just flat have high IQs. They love the game of baseball. But what I'm seeing too, like the parents, they're not mom and dads that didn't really play baseball growing up. They're the dads that played baseball, maybe played some minor league baseball, played college baseball. They're the kids that are starting to come through now. These upper 30s, low 40s, their 13, 14-year-old kids are now coming through, and that's that IQ that they've been around the game for a lot longer. And I'm not trying to say anything about a parent that has never played the game. It's just a little bit different when it comes to being around it and the IQ. It's just something different.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
That's just an opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I understand.
I think I don't think you're far off of that at all either. I know Coach Rollo played at Mizzou, and I know Jeff Sauer played in college, and a lot of these kids. I think you're exactly right, and I think as you can see it, even in the major leagues that we're getting this time, we're starting to see a lot of offspring coming and cycling through. I don't think you're far off on that at all. I tell my son all the time, sorry I didn't play pro ball for you. You might be in trouble. You got to work harder.
I think he's going to be all right.
He's getting there.
Mike, we got to get you back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got a question. I got a question for Mike. Being that he's a small organization or just one team,
yeah.
How do you retain and compete every year with the big clubs? Keeping those kids tied to the chest.
That's a great question, and I will say that we've been part of this organization since Kevin's been 8, and I've been really proud of how this organization has stuck with it and how we've competed, being an independent team. We've done it since they were 7 or 8 years old. The core group of this team has been together. Some of them played together when they were 7. I think how we do it a lot is our mentality and how we handle ourselves on and off the field. I think people want to come play for us because they see, what we do on the field,
family, what
we do off the field. I consider those 12 boys, one of them is my son, but all 11 of them, I consider my son. We have, text messages that go back and forth. Coach Mark, who's kind of in charge of the team and in charge of the club, has done a great job of keeping it a very close knit family. We've never cut a kid because of ability. Since this team's been around, no kid has ever been cut off our roster because of ability. Now, there's kids that have moved on. They've moved to different levels. They've moved to different teams. We have never cut a kid because of ability. And I think that's something that I take pride in, that we can be where we're at, and we've never cut a kid because of ability. We want to give every kid that comes to us the same opportunity as you get with the Gators, or same opportunities you get with the Bandits, whatever it is. We try to work really hard to develop them. Now, I will say we'll have sometimes it's tough. We don't have the big fancy buildings. We don't have the big fancy trainers that you can say, look who can train you. So we have to work extremely hard into keeping some of these kids, and I will say that we haven't lost many kids to big clubs. When we've lost kids,
you really haven't.
When we've lost kids, they've gone to different levels maybe. But it's been tough, and I think but it's been awesome to see these boys stick together and go through it. And I think when it's really rewarding when kids come to you, parents come to you and want to be on your team because they see how we are on the field, how we are off the field. They want to be part of our organization, which is, it's just fun. And it's rewarding as coaches to say, okay, we're doing things the right way. And I guarantee you our costs are way less than what you're paying. That always helps.
Definitely probably way less.
That always helps.
I just found it interesting because when we talked about your group in past shows, and this may have not just been perspective that we were having conversations about, your name got brought up just because of the ability to retain your athletes. And we're experiencing that right now with the Tribe. We're a small organization, if you will. And Jason Nicodime at 14U, he has had his team for a long time, and they're starting to get into that mold of being a really dominant AA team, starting to work toward mid-level, AAA on any given weekend. And our Jamal's 13U team that we have, he has kept most of those kids together. And you're starting to see growth in his team. Now he's still on the back end of AA, but he is getting somewhere. And I for those coaches that are able to do that, I just appreciate, because at the end of the day, the bonds that are made and not having to recycle athletes every single year it has to be tough on a coach, an organization.
Yeah.
But I love seeing you guys be able to keep teams together. It's nice to see.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I think that's something that Mark and I really work hard as a team and a club to create that. And I'm not gonna lie, we've had clubs reach out to us and want us to join. And
I'm sure.
They want us to come over, but we've stuck to our guns, and and
that's probably one of them.
Creating that atmosphere that we have is awesome. The families get together, and all the time we're always hanging out, and the boys are play basketball together now, and some of them play basketball. They mostly play soccer, so it's a fun group.
I want to do this, and we're going to bring Mike back because Mitch, I think you bring up a great point there, and I think it's a much larger conversation
For sure.
How do you create that culture? You could be in a club, and still create that culture of a team, because regardless of whether you're in a club or independent and things like that, I think that's a necessary quality
100%.
to having team success. Teams that win at a high level, you always heard the old adage, you don't have to like each other to play together. Well, I don't know if I believe that so much. I mean, you may not just be simpatico, whatnot. But you watch at the major league level, the teams that are having success, those guys genuinely care about, there's a genuine care about the guy next to you, because, you talk about going to battle.
Yep.
Who you going to battle with? Do you believe that guy has your back?
For sure.
And I mean, I think that's a real conversation.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you're right. I think that would be an awesome, almost like a round table to get a bunch of club coaches and a couple of us independents together. But we talk with our boys a lot. We call each other baseball brothers. Mm-hmm. We're in this together. We're a family. And, we've been through some things as a family, off the field. I mean, with our daughter Jordan, and that kind of brought our team together a little bit. And we still, to this day, will have a Jordy Strong weekend where all the boys, you can tell it means something different to them.
Yeah.
They come together, they do it for their brother, Kevin, they get together, they play hard, and they take that weekend to heart. Right. So, that's something that we've preached for a long time. We do this for each other. We always talk about it's bigger than baseball. It's something that, we live by on our team. And I think hopefully, most Cubs do. And like I said, I think that would be an awesome get together with a bunch of different people to sit down and just chat about that. Because not saying that our way is the right way at all.
Right. No, I understand.
Our way might not work somewhere else.
Right. But, how does that work?
Right. For sure.
And I think, Mitch, as you're talking about those things, I think those are real questions as a club owner, and you're looking at all these different teams. What's that culture you're trying to build? Right.
For sure.
Culture's in everything, right? I mean, it's in every single level that we have. And, if your dugout is a turd, your stands are turds, your coaches are turds, it's not fun to be a part of that. And somebody has to be the leader of that. And when you watch a clubhouse and you watch what the Dodgers do and the Rays or, these mid-level teams, it's what is being done inside that dugout. And that's what made, Mike Schilt a player's coach, and the guys rallied around him because he never threw them under the bus. When they struggled and probably deserved to be thrown under the bus. But that's our job, as fans and media or whatever. But I love trying to build culture. That's why I'm so big on trying to build mental toughness inside this age group at 13, 14 years old, because high school baseball is tough. And it is very cutthroat. Coaches get paid to win from here on out. And And it's the only place wins and losses really matter is high school and college and beyond, right? So at the end of the day, you have to start building that mental toughness now. And a lot of that comes from, making your weakest link stronger through your team, through your teammates. So that's a conversation I'd love to have.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mitch, man, thanks for jumping in here on the web link today. My man, good to see you, bud. It really is. Good to see Mike. Everybody, thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the show. Remember, if you did, we appreciate the support. Hit that subscribe button. And while you're at it, go ahead, hit that dinger. That dinger, because that's what we do, right, Mitch?
Oh, yeah, doubles and dingers.
Exactly. There it is. And it gets all your notifications for upcoming episodes you don't want to miss, because we're going to be doing some great stuff coming up. We got a lot of fun stuff, and we're going to come back with this conversation. So everybody, have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and you hitters, hit them where they aim. We'll see you next time.